Why no matter how hard you try, you'll never catch up with Americans. The secret behind global income. Two equally hardworking workers. One earns $80,000 a year in the US, while the other earns less than $2,000 a year in India. A difference of 40 times. Are they really just not trying hard enough? If you think income depends solely on individual effort, today's video might just overturn your assumptions. What really determines how high your salary is may not be how many overtime hours you work or how many books you read, but rather the economic system into which you were born. From the IMF to the WTO, from the World Bank to the global trading system, these institutions, which may seem distant and abstract, actually quietly influence your wallet every single day. Today, we'll uncover the power map behind the global economic order and see who's setting the rules of this income game. Do you think the whole world is playing the same game? Wrong. We're not even on the same playing field. In 1944, a conference reshaped the global landscape for the next 80 years. Location: the Bretton Woods Hotel in New Hampshire, USA. Characters: representatives from major Western countries. Result: 3 major global economic arbitrators. Emerged: the International Monetary Fund, IMF, the World Bank, and later, the WTO. It's like a group of shareholders starts a company, drafts its articles of incorporation, and then says, from now on, everyone just follows this. But the question is, who is the majority shareholder? The answer is the United States. At the IMF, each country has voting rights, but it's not one person, one vote. Rather, it's one share, one vote. You can think of the IMF as a publicly listed company, where shares represent equity. The United States holds a 17.4% stake and wields over 16% of the voting power. And major decisions require more than 85% support to pass. This means America has a veto power. Even if the whole world agrees, as long as it votes against it, nothing will get done. The same logic applies to the World Bank as well. Although it's called World, its headquarters are also in Washington, and the president has traditionally been an American. Where do funds flow? It often depends on who holds the power of discourse. Now let's look at the WTO, which claims to promote free trade and fair competition. Yet its intellectual property agreement, TRIPS, forces developing countries to pay around $60 billion annually in a tax on knowledge. What is the knowledge tax? For example, when you rent a house, you not only have to pay the rent, but also buy the landlord all the furnishings, appliances, and even the cats and dogs he keeps. This is the reality brought about by TRIPS. Technology monopolists collect the fees, and users foot the bill. So you see, although these institutions ostensibly serve the entire world, the power to set the rules is firmly in the hands of a few developed countries. Do you think free trade is fair? Actually, it has hidden clauses. Now that we know who sets the rules, how exactly do these rules affect your salary? The following 5 mechanisms constitute the income suppression system hidden behind globalization. First, capital takes precedence over labor. Foreign investment is coming in, bringing factories, technology, and job opportunities. Sounds great, doesn't it? But what about the profits? Most of them were remitted back to the home country. Data shows that more than 70% of global FDI profits ultimately flow back to the home countries of the investor's superscript 2. In other words, if you spend 10 years working on an assembly line, more than half of the value you create could end up as numbers in someone else's bank account. This isn't getting rich through labor, it's working for capital. Second, technology-biased progress. Automation and AI are replacing mid-skill jobs. Neither white-collar nor blue-collar workers are safe. In the past, an accountant used to take a whole month to do the bookkeeping. Now, software can handle it in just 1 second. In the past, a driver would spend 10 years on the road. Now, self-driving test vehicles are hitting the roads. What is the result? High-skilled workers see wage increases, low-skilled jobs are phased out, and the middle layer is collapsing. The returns on education are polarizing. While college graduates see their incomes rise, high school dropouts actually experience a decline. This isn't a matter of effort, it's the selection mechanism of the times. Third, intellectual property barriers. Medicines, software, seeds. Nearly all core technologies are protected by patents. Do Do you want to use it? Sure, just pay the licensing fee first. It's just like going to an amusement park. Already the admission fee is expensive, and then you have to pay extra each time you try a different ride or attraction inside. Moreover, you can't build a similar one yourself, because that would be infringement. The TRIPS agreement compels all countries to adopt these rules, effectively raising the threshold for innovation ever higher. Fourth, mismatch between education and human capital. India is a typical example. On one side are Indian elites serving as CEOs in Silicon Valley, fluent speakers who manage multinational teams. On the other side is a rural teenager who can't even understand a simple English sentence. The top is sharp, the bottom is collapsed. This structural rupture prevents the country's human capital from working together effectively. No matter how hard you try, if your starting point is too far behind, it'll be difficult to catch up. Fifth, industrial structure lock-in. Bangladesh supports millions of workers through ready-to-wear garment exports, but can they ever upgrade to building their own brands? It's difficult. The global value chain is like an elevator. Some people are forever stuck on the first floor. You can only do contract manufacturing, engage in low-end processing, and earn meager profits. Want to move up? The upstream areas, design, marketing, and standard setting, are all controlled by others. If you don't master the rules, you'll just have to accept what's assigned to you. Having reached this point, you might ask, are there any countries trying to break this system? Let's take a look at South Africa. More than 30 years have passed since the end of apartheid, yet the economic structure remains distorted. Although whites make up 8% of the population, they control 75% of the farmland. For black people make up 80%, and land ownership is virtually negligible. Land inequality, backward education, difficulty finding employment, low income, creating a vicious cycle. Today, the average monthly income of black people is only 1/5 that of white people. For this is not the result of laziness. It's the price paid for historical institutions. The same resources, different rights. The same effort, different rewards. And this situation is not uncommon. From Latin America to Africa, many developing countries are facing similar structural barriers. The predatory systems left behind by past colonialism are still reaping today's wealth. Globalization has brought growth, but it has also exacerbated inequality. The G20 report points out that each year, resources equivalent to 1% of global GDP flow from developing countries to developed countries through mechanisms such as debt repayment and profit repatriation. Superscript 2. This isn't aid, it's net outflow. It limits a country's investment capacity and also caps the wage ceiling for ordinary people. So, back to the original question. Why, despite putting in the same effort, do incomes differ by a factor of dozens? The answer is becoming increasingly clear. Your income ceiling is often determined by rules you have no say in shaping. Where you're born determines what kind of education, industries, and opportunities you'll have access to. Whether your country has the capacity to negotiate trade terms and whether it can secure fairer technology transfers. These are not things that individuals can change on their own. But that doesn't mean we're powerless. True awakening begins with seeing through the system. If you could change one global economic rule tomorrow, what would it be? Is it about canceling the US veto power? Is it about abolishing the TRIPS patent monopoly? Should developing countries also be allowed to issue their own global currency? Write your answer in the comments section. I'll respond to the top 3 comments one by one in the next episode. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on the little bell. See you next time.